And that way you can at least speak to us face by face, or face to face, excuse me. Now, back to regularly scheduled programming. That's that guy. There's nothing wrong with up in smoke. If it was just weed that they were smoking, that'd be cool. But it's not weed that they'd be smoking. They'd be slinging some of the crystal. They'd be cooking up the math, tweaking out, shake and bake. So it's certainly not any of the chronic. That's cool. You know, that wouldn't be anything, but that's not the real problem here. The chronic didn't contribute, hey Lori Green, didn't contribute to Jack and Lily's disappearance, but the math did. Well, Danny boy, he is a daily microdoser of the mathematics. And I'm not talking about the stuff that you get in pill form. I'm talking about the street grade stuff. Staff Sergeant McCammon said police interviewed a social worker involved with Jack and Lily and others with valuable information about the children's circumstances. Now, guess what? That is relevant to all of the information in here because it's speaking to what Sergeant McCammon says in his interview about charges coming down the line. And you can see the case in which is being built against Daniel. Daniel is going to be made out to look like the scoundrel, abusive, tweaked out stepdad in this circumstance. He was taking that role, and we have to call him that because he claims himself to be that. He was no kind of father figure in the children's lives, that's for sure. He hated the kids. And that's well known within the circle of the family. Why isn't anyone involved with the case that failed the children think we should trust their word? Mr. Bartman asks in my chat. Because they're guilty and that's all they have and they're desperate. Please, oh please, oh please. Will you believe me? I'm not here to lie to you guys. If you're in a position where you have to beg for the people that are listening to you to believe you, you're probably guilty as fuck. There's always exceptions, but this isn't one of them. Especially when you follow up with all kinds of just verbal diarrhea that makes it look even more suspicious in that sense that you had a reason and resentment towards the children that are now missing. That you couldn't cover up. You couldn't even find something good to say about the kids. You never liked Malaya, Janie, since the day that you met her. That means you didn't like the kids either. So they didn't want to improve their lives or themselves at that point. That's what blows my mind. Like, you've got a house with 3 kids and 2 adults. And the only thing that you want to do is get high. You don't want to go out and get ahead and make some money in that sense. Build your lives together. There was none of that shit going on here. It was all, what can we do to leech off mom today, grandma today, Janie today. We got that bitch out in the RV. How long is this going to last? She never liked them. She moved out to the RV, just what she wants to do. Carol Johansson, it's very generous of you. Thank you, darling. The Globe and Mail says previously reported that they previously reported on troubling issues. They previously reported on the troubling issues. We talk about these troubling issues every goddamn day, Derwood. What do you do? Ken, we talk about the troubling issues in Jack and Lily's life every single day. What do, you fat bastard? You sit in that fucking chair and smell your fingers all goddamn day. Oh my God. Hello. That's a big 20, thank you. That's 20 Australian. Shannon, thank you very much, darling. People from all around the world, Daniel, are sending me money to talk shit about you. How does that feel? You like that, Kent? You should get your own channels. That's a real shitty position to be in that sense. In that, I withhold, I hold back a little bit sometimes because I don't want to pile on them. But it's hard not to talk shit on them. The Globe previously reported on troubling issues inside Jack and Lily's home, including admitted rug abuse by their stepfather. And that's not abusing anything really organic. That's 100% synthesized brain rot. Daniel, his mindset is that it helps him. So think about what he's escaping from. His normal state shelf state self. Say that 5 times fast. Shelf state self. You need to fix your normal self by microdosing with the math. Because it's the only way that you'll really get confidence. That's probably what it is. That's just a little bit of confidence, and you like to have that controlled, confident feeling. That's what you're after. But you never quite get there. Because the longer you use and abuse, the farther away you get from that feeling. Little thing that they call tolerance. Well, Danny's probably shooting up the crystal in his artery underneath his throat. That's really hardcore. Darlene said the way he looked that day, that first day, I would say he was doing more than microdosing. Well, he'd been microdosing since Wednesday. And when you never sleep, you never have a chance to reset. So whatever tear that they got onto, whatever little... Fuck, you don't have to have a party. It's a party every day when you're tweaking out, dude. The party never stops. Party doesn't have to include formal invitations to come over to fucking Daniel's house. The party never stops there. There's a party every time he gets re-upped with that crystal math. She's Hazard. Thank you very much. Get wrecked, Derwoods. Thank you very much. Princess Pillow 3575 says Daniel is the one who had nowhere to go. Right. Malaya had family who would have helped her, but they might not have let Daniel move in. Who would? Well, listen, he's lying and manipulating in a sense to her, promising her all of these things, no different than Janie's trying to get us to believe that she was going to put a pool in for those kids in the future. You know, it's a common thing to sit there and promise all of the good things that are going to come down the line in place for why things are so shitty in that moment. This relationship has always been toxic between the two. And they both probably used each other as band-aids. You know, Malaya getting out of this relationship with Cody. Old Danny getting out of this relationship when his old lady kicked him out. Then they got together, and then I'm going to do it right this time. I'm going to just douse her with so much love. Think about all of the messages. I would like to see that someday. All of the messages that Daniel sends Malaya in the beginning. all the communications that they've had over time for like 36 months. I'll pick them apart. We'll talk about every one of them. Carol says, oh yeah, he was heavily squeezed out when we first saw him. He was fully tweaked. Look how thin he was and gaunt and geeked out, repeating himself, speaking all quickly, lying. It's all about math behavior. Yeah, and the cursive language. There's no pauses between words. Believe me. You believe me. Believe me. Why has Derwood changed his tune? So he can fit in amongst people a lot better. Don't think that he has. He's just leading on that he has. He's full of shit in that sense. It's an attempt to rebuild or establish some sort of base of trust with a bunch of strangers when it comes to this case, so people, and he's more able to get his message across to a greater amount of people. It's far too late for that asshole. You can try all you want. This asshole's telling everybody to let the RCMP do what they need to do in order to bring this case to some sort of resolution. Yet Derwood can't fucking stop but inserting himself with spreading all kinds of disinformation. You just don't get by that. You don't get past that, fuckface. He's got this new club up there, this new group of people that he's selected that dislike the creators, and they like to go around and bully and leave shitty comments. Fuck. Dude, again, there's another 10 fucking pounds coming in from across the pond. Jane Tyner says, caught both your lives today, and it's hard. So I listened to all your replay. I just want the 3 main ones in the slammer than the ones that covered for me. Okay. I appreciate that, Jane. We're talking shit about you, Derwood. Stocks up. They all played their own violin. Man, they have to live with what's coming soon. Right. Exactly. You know, I would expect that Derwood is playing ahead of the game because he genuinely knows what's happened. He's not that stupid. He's not stupid enough to keep out of this. But there's a reason why he's associated with all of this. We're going to figure that out. Each day we get that much closer. So when the hammer does come down, he isn't left holding the bag, having defended these child killers up until this point. He can turn around and say, see, look at my Facebook. People can look back on his Facebook and see, say, here Darren said that he doesn't believe Janie and Daniel. He's just trying to make himself look better. It didn't matter in the first place. It didn't matter to Darren or to any one of those assholes in the first place whether Jack and Lily are alive, dead, where the fuck they were. All they care about is their buddy Daniel in that sense. Like a bunch of chomos who are protecting themselves from whatever exploitation they were bringing on these young children. That's what I smell. The fact that you want to position yourself at all times, no matter what it is that you say, of being in a position of knowing more than everybody else as to what happened, it paints yourself as a suspect no matter what it is that you're saying. You can't change that, derp. Fucking booze nose. Jerry Lynn, I'm with you. At the end of the day, this is what statistics would point towards. Now that we've established each step of the 8 steps in the coercive cycle, of the coercive nature of this relationship, it's complete bullshit. In order to make her look bad or make her look more guilty in that moment. You're making yourself look guilty because your guys have already come out with a story that you're all pushing. Now you're going back on it and saying that it's bullshit. How could the police possibly ignore this? They didn't. They can't.
Is when my other two grandchildren are here, and they're always kept an eye on by me. And if Daniel's in the yard, he watches them too. And the kids have never wandered away or never gone in the woods by themselves in the last 2 years. Why all of a sudden would they do it Friday morning? And there's three questions I cannot answer. The first question is who would know the kids were home? And number two, who would know when they were outside? And number three, when I saw Malaya outside my RV, why wasn't she crying or why wasn't she hysterical if her kids went missing 20 minutes ago? And here's another thing for you to think about. I lived here for 26 years. I've raised my two boys here. I've been in this community for 60 years. I was born and raised here. My homestead is where my brother lives. So, I know the traffic on this road. After 26 years, I know the traffic on this road. Now, nobody is going to go by here and say, oh, there's two kids in the yard. Let's stop and pick them up. For number one.
So now she continues to disparage and talk back what it is they want you to assume again. So for those of you out there confused about Darren saying that he thinks, you know, Daniel knows and all of this, what he's saying on his Facebook, it's a pattern in a style of lying, and they all lie in the exact same manner. It's atypical. So here she's going on and saying that now we've got to believe her and trust her, that nobody came by and just decided to pick the kids up. There's really not a whole lot of options left. But somewhere they're magically still alive, you know, being fed and changed and cared for. They can put their head on that nasty old pillow in her RV every night and sleep. Yo, Janie, you're still hot in the spotlight, girl. This is Scaredy Cat 87 says, contact the police now and tell them what you know. You don't really want to go to prison now at your age. Janie's going to be the first one to crack because she's an easy egg to crack. She's already somewhat, what would you say, soft-boiled? Malaya's taking this seriously, in your opinion? Daniel has done nothing but confuse us and try to give reasonable doubt. Well, he's tried. Why does a person need to be in front of you trying to create some sort of layer of plausible deniability at all times? It's because they have something to hide, that they're guilty. In this particular scenario, absolutely. No doubt about it. Darlene says, we know how long she's lived in that community, and according to Derwood, she has a reputation of a hussy, and don't mess with Janie, she'll blow a hole in you. Or she'll suck a golf ball through a hose, a garden hose, more like it. That's what she puts on her Craigslist profile, and the one on Plenty of Fish, probably. That's how her and Derwood probably got together. They both enjoy the stylings of Chance Lays and old Chomo Kent lobster claws. Tweaker's tears of woes were going to get caught, and I don't want to have to throw my son under the bus, but I will, she will, in my opinion. Janie will sell out. Push comes to shove. They need to show her. Well, let's remember, it's not going to be up to them. It's going to be put on them step by step in an interview, in the form of an interview, if they're lucky. So at very least, they've really admitted to criminal negligence causing death in this circumstance. And that's in a public setting. All while insisting that they're absolutely innocent. Yet they've admitted to so much neglect that's led to these poor children being no longer with us. Now, where's their bodies? There's no trace of them. Because there's no trace of them, there's no evidence anywhere in that sense. It would suggest that it was made to look that way. There is a conspiracy to abuse the corpse and carry out and desecrate the corpse even further, which is a crime and crimes of their own. And then they collabed all together. And then they pulled other people like Kent and Derwood into it, which are also accessories after the fact. Not to mention major fucking douchebag moves. The story about someone breaking into the trailer and taking a few things is covering for Daniel's shirt. Long sleeve that I believe they used to secure the remains. Well, that could be. That's really getting your imagination working. But keep it going, Carol. I'm not saying it's... I'll let them tell us what happened. I don't have to start guessing and hoping that it's right. Take a look at what all we've learned about this situation and hold that against them. And have them be accountable for what it is that they've claimed. At not one point throughout all of this have they added any context to what their initial statements to police were. Should be a very different looking scenario, and it's not. And by the way, the RCMP haven't cleared any of them. That would be their real primary scenario in this circumstance. They attempted to and tried to, but they just couldn't because their story is so unbelievable and it's illogical. It adds even more suspicion to the circumstance. And that's putting it in a nice way.
I'm not here to lie. The reason why I wanted you guys to come here and do the interview here is to show you exactly where everything took place. Mm-hmm. One, that's where those three questions come into. And here's another thing for you to think about. I lived here for 26 years. I've raised...
Here's another thing for you to think about.
And as far as Malaya being isolated, that's a bunch of bullcrap. Because she used to drive Daniel to work when he was working full-time. And there's something else I'm going to straighten you out about too.
She was still allowed to serve her master. What do you talk about isolated? She can serve her master at any point in time. Look at her so happy out there taking Daniel to work because he can't drive himself. Even making him lunch. Oh boy, I'm sure that was a real fucking chef surprise. Fuck, it was just a reminder as to what the hell kind of lazy old, what Malaya really is. Probably got some of those poor man bread and put some sort of processed cheese slice on it with nothing else. Maybe some bratwurst or some shit. Didn't even cut the goddamn thing. Buttered the outside of the fucking bread. Could you believe it? That's probably more what happened. How the hell would she be making Daniel lunch and delivering it for him at work? That was just a fantasy of his. Meanwhile, he didn't have to lie to anybody to get that. You just had to wait and find the right one instead of trying to make a hoe into a housewife like you're doing with Malaya. So you get all high on that substance and say that you want to make this hoe a housewife and you want to treat her, you want to disrespect her and use her as a piece of sexual property. And in the ends, you can't help but actually hold that against her. You don't respect her. You're not with Malaya because you love her. You're not with Malaya because you respect the things that she's done. You see talent and promise in her. You're with her because you want her to satisfy your sexual needs when you want to. And then you've taken it too far. And she's got some baggage with her. But it's okay. You ignore them anyway. You don't plan on being part of their futures. They can just tag along for the ride just as long as Danny Boy gets what he wants. That's the way Janie sees the situation as well. Because she hears them fucking all night in the trailer. He's all tweaked out. She's getting punished. And he's developing some really perverted ways. No different than Kent or Derwood. Those two guys are fucking perverts. You can tell they've got perv and dirty written all over them. Look at how creepy could you imagine those two freaks at the county fair hanging out by the zipper, looking at all the fucking 11-year-olds? Derwood, are you at the local fucking fair running the Gravitron? Fucking carny. The incident that Kiki explained could also become lethal due to positional asphyxiation. Oh, you mean about the upside down car seat? Well, it just goes to show you about the types of things that go on in that home, allegedly.
In a minute. When she wanted the car, she would drive Daniel to work. She would go do what she had to do. She would even bring Daniel his lunch. She would come home. Then she would go back in the evening and pick Daniel up. So she was free to go whenever she wanted to go.
It doesn't seem like she's too free to be doing anything but picking up her master. Is that what a wife is supposed to do? It's your job to come pick me up from work? I don't even believe any of that. Like, I mean, one thing doesn't have to do with the other. One thing doesn't have to do with the other.
And another thing, the reason why Daniel is only working 1 day a week is because of this here tariff tax. The mill is having problems getting logs. That's the only reason why the mill is down 1 day a week. And that started in, I think...
Well, who cares that the mill's down 1 day a week? Why the fuck is Daniel not working? If he was valuable to the company, they would have kept him there working. But he's not. That's the same mill that old Jordan had to leave from for stress leave because his old lady left him. What a bunch of fucking crybabies. What a bunch of bitches. What a bunch of women. Why don't you pull your socks up and get out there and keep yourselves busy? You're all wrapped up in your emotional attachments to the women that just left you. Boy, is your head in the wrong place. Fucking tweakers.
February, they started going down 1 day a week. But just in the last 3 weeks, they've been full time. They've been 3 weeks steady. 5 days a week. So, if anybody thinks that Malaya was isolated... She had every chance in the world to go wherever she wanted. That's all she had to do was ask Danny.
All you had to do was okay it with your master. Think about what it is she just described. You didn't describe it or even acknowledge what the term isolation would mean in a relationship at all. Like she's mixing and using what other people are saying, and then she's twisting the definition, meaning that like we're physically isolated out here away from society, like geographically or physically, as opposed to emotionally. She wasn't isolated. She was doing everything. Like, and she's saying she's not geographically isolated here in the house. She was allowed to take the car to take Daniel to work, to sometime take him his lunch. And what was the last one again? The funniest one? And she could take it anytime she wanted, just as long as she asked Daniel. Now, does that sound to me or to you like the answer of an abuser herself? Like she won't acknowledge the question whatsoever, but within her answer, it told you a whole lot more about stuff that you didn't even ask. And that's really how we've come to learn this group, haven't we? Why would Daniel go to work when he was living off of the children's milk money? And they were robbing Patty? If you don't have any conscience or drive, you're strung out and do B&E. Come on. Well, he's probably doing that anyway. And work got in the way of that. Work got in the way of him getting high. All of a sudden, he's got this woman in his life that was getting monthly milk money for her children. Of course, he's going to move her in and live off her. Why wouldn't he? That's actually, from his perspective, that's some gains in the P&L. Thinking, hell yeah, we've got some income. Who cares? Now it's not as risky. I don't actually have to work. I can focus more time shaking and baking and trying to sell this mathematics to all my friends in the band Smashing 8 Balls. DM was getting what he wanted without working. That's right. The problem with all of that is, though, he had to hang around. He had to be a part of the family in that sense. And that wasn't going well because, of course, math and family time don't go hand in hand. It's a divorce drug. It's a dissociate. You isolate yourself away, especially if it comes to work with a couple of children who weren't even yours, that you don't really and haven't really bonded with. So it's gotten worse from Malaya's perspective and Jack and Lily's perspective too. Carol Johansson, Lori, I believe that Wade, did his best to try to remove Malaya and the children intact from that rat trap. Malaya declined. Perhaps she was threatened that she couldn't leave. But listen, it sounds like Patty's a real enabler in her life and she's got problems of her own. Cindy is different. She has rules. Malaya doesn't like rules. All right. And when you don't like rules, that's not conducive to rearing children either. So she would rather just sit where she is and leave it be and deal with it, not thinking the worst is happening or the worst could possibly happen. She's not thinking those same lines or same context. I believe that she wanted to leave. She was obviously mixed because that's what shows in her behavior. Now she's got Meadow, so she's being manipulated. Like, this whole relationship was getting pushed to a point where they had to make a decision that they didn't want to make. That's getting on with things and making a go of it, getting a job and supporting yourselves. Growing. And not living off of Patty or Janie or anybody else, which was what you were choosing to do. And you were confronted with that at Patty's. That's why they had to leave out to move in with Janie. So I wouldn't have thought that their attitude all of a sudden changed. Okay? So they're here with the same fucking attitude. They don't want to do anything to progress themselves. Something's going to break. And compound that with the substance abuse issue, the disorder that Daniels voluntarily took on in his life. Only he's convincing himself that it's helping him. Think about how fucked up of a situation that is. That's a lose-lose situation. Now she's in the situation being manipulated and head fucked over, and she's dumb as a stump. She's dumb as a bag of rocks. That's why she's gotten into this situation, okay? Sorry, Malaya, but you're fucking stupid, honey. You should have really stuck it out in school and made an attempt at things. Oh, Princess Pillow, thank you very much. It's very generous. Thank you for discussing from a standpoint that is empathetic and holds everyone accountable. I love your shows. I appreciate you for watching, and everybody else for that matter. Not you, Kent. Not you, Derwood. But I know you're out there. You're the first fucking losers to comment shitty. You guys must have like a bunch of new sock accounts you guys just made up. Nobody should ever feel bad for speaking out what is wrong in this circumstance. It doesn't sound very nice, but it's what it needs. And you need to call the bullshit out. People, at the end of the day, many people just want to be lied to and feel good at the end of the day. And that's what they're feeding into. They want you to think the best. Who sits in a situation like this and wants to push out a false narrative that makes absolutely no sense? That's a fantasy. Doesn't that tell you all who exactly is responsible for whatever happened to Jack and Lily at this point? Because it would tell a jury of 12 that. There's only one reason for Janie, Malaya, Daniel, Kent, and Derwood all to be lying and pushing a certain narrative. And that would be because they have something to do, whether it be an accessory after the fact or they're engaged full-heartedly in the conspiracy. We can't tell from afar, but it doesn't matter. We know enough already to confidently say that. Not to mention Janie's on the CBC begging for the world to believe her. Oh, fuck, that's how desperate she is. That's how desperate she is. And how evil this bitch is. This is ignorance. This is racist. And it's everybody else's fault but their own. It reeks with guilt. It doesn't get any more suspicious. You couldn't do or act or behave in any more of a suspicious manner than Daniel and Janie and their little cast of fucknuts have up to this point. Explore Course says Malaya lied to CAS. Well, absolutely. Most people do. In my opinion, Malaya lied to CAS for some time and still didn't tell them the whole truth, or she disregarded what CAS told her about the risks of leaving a DV situation. She doesn't consider or even know what risk means in that sense. She doesn't give a shit. Of course she lied. She didn't want to get in trouble. That's natural. She didn't want to change the family scenario. She wanted to keep control of things without having a federal agency step in and get involved. So she's going to go through the motions and handle things herself. Explore Core, that's just spam. People look for people to blame in this circumstance when the blame is right there in front of you at this point. It has everything to do with the people who took the lives of Jack and Lily. Blamed them for it. And then lie after the fact in order to conspire to get away with it, to shape really what had happened to two innocent children to benefit their own lifestyle. And continued abuse. The abuse has just spilled onto the public. It has spilled onto us. They're abusing our emotions. And then they want to blame everybody. Think about the priority and the things that they have said that they wish would change. The first thing that comes out of their mouths are all of the things that are being said against what it is that they've told us online. What strangers are saying about them is what is bothering them the most. That tells you everything. So it's not going to matter in a court of law to the police or investigation that anybody figures out what exactly the incident was that ended the life of Jack and Lily, it's going to come from one of three people. All right? It's going to come from them. They don't ever have to tell us, and they can still be locked up. They can remain silent and let the process go on without admission.
Daniel for the car, and Daniel gave her the car. And there in April, she bought a car on her own. So if she wanted to leave, she could have left in April. She could have left any time she wanted. She knew.
I wouldn't say that she didn't, and one that you're yelling at it, with all of the pieces of shit vehicles that are in your driveway, what was the need for Malaya to go out and get a new 2017 Nissan Pathfinder when there was all kinds of vehicles already around? That doesn't seem like the greatest of investments in that sense. You lose money no matter what on a vehicle. Why not utilize the vehicles that you already had? So there was telling me that there's already divide within this little family sect of yours. She had to go outside the family and get a vehicle on her own away from Daniel and Janie. Meanwhile, there's cars at home. Daniel smashed up a couple since. There's vehicles that she could have driven herself or could have received. So this attempt to get a vehicle was just another step, a planned step in my opinion. Probably Daniel just agreed to it whenever he wanted some booty at night. Oh, listen, I'm fully supportive of whatever it is that you want to do. And she, takes full advantage of that. Well, I'm going to need a car. I'm going to have to do this. And we're going to have to wait for this. All in an effort to just break apart and end the relationship. And that would be something that would have waned on this tweaker Daniel in the moment. It led to a trigger point. See, for a guy like a freak like Daniel to live and have to deal with Malaya and the kids at a point when he knows the relationship is done and over, and he's having to go through the motions of taking her places, and he's got all of these mixes of emotions, probably driving her around, trying to convince her to stay. Sometimes it's threatening, sometimes it's love bombing. But that whole process, it would be easy. Anything that wasn't as he wanted would have led to a trigger. Sweet tea. Right. Well, what the fuck are you together? You guys aren't getting married. Why are you guys together in the first place, shacking up? If it didn't have a future. If you weren't going to marry her. Or at least legally common law would have complicated your tax forms. Something in the relationship had to happen. Daniel's in all kinds of trouble with defrauding the government. Something had to happen. Or else it would have affected payments in the future, because why is it that all of the money that comes in, okay, coming from milk money, that's already accounted for. That's already going to things. It's not any money to live off of. It should be money dedicated to raising your children in a healthy manner, above and beyond what it is that you're already bringing in. So why did she go out on her own and